Now, casualties have been confirmed in the Turkish capital of Ankara as the government says it is responding to a terrorist attack. For more on this breaking news now, let's speak to our Home and Security editor, Mark White, who's in the studio. Mark, what's the latest?
Well, this incident, we think, is still ongoing, although there are reports that 2 terrorists involved in this have been shot, have been killed by Turkish authorities. But we're also getting reports that 3 people have been killed, not terrorists, but 3 members of the public, or at least potentially the workforce within this aerospace company in Ankara, and 14 others injured. You're looking at live shots there of the scene outside this aerospace, the aerospace company, which is a very important part of the military-industrial complex in Turkey as it manufactures engines and other components for Turkey's homegrown 5th-generation fighter jet. So a very sort of important element really in that country's sort of defence capacity. I think we can bring you some sound that we now have of the gunfire and explosions that took place just as this terrorist attack was unfolding.
Ne oldu la orada?
And there's some other footage that we can bring you that actually shows 2 of the attackers. No, we don't have that.
No, don't have that, unfortunately. What does it show? We'll try endeavour to get it up. What does it show?
It shows 2 attackers, we believe a man and a woman, with automatic weapons by a yellow taxi at that point opening fire. There is what we think may be a victim lying beside the taxi, just their legs visible on the roadway just beside the taxi itself. And then there's another angle of the 2 attackers making their way through some security bollards, presumably into the building itself. Now, that is clearly of concern, because if they're through security and into the building, that's where the workforce is, and 2 attackers with automatic weapons can do a lot of damage. So the initial reports are 3 people killed and 14 injured, and then the two of the terrorists killed at this stage as well.
Mark, I know it's very early to speculate, but any idea who could be behind this attack? Previous terror attacks in Turkey have come from Islamic State, the PKK Kurdish group, even far-left extremists. Any idea who's responsible on this occasion? Well,
all of the above. They've had their problems from all of these different groups over the years. The PKK are a continual thorn in the side of the Turkish government, and they particularly target the likes of policing and military infrastructure within Turkey, as well as civilian infrastructure at times as well. But Islamist threat, from ISIS and Al-Qaeda over the years have launched many attacks in Ankara, in Istanbul, and other Turkish locations. And as you say, yes, the far left militants and terrorist groups have also been involved in launching attacks. So they face a threat from multiple fronts in Turkey that they've been grappling with over the years. But the Turkish authorities have not yet come out, and not surprising, we're still in the very early stages of this incident. We've seen from the live shots vehicles, emergency services arriving at the scene, still arriving at the scene. So still an incident unfolding. I don't know. We don't have the live footage anymore either. Yeah,
have we got that clip? No, we haven't got it. So the pictures doing the rounds online is, one chap who's seen entering the front building of this aerospace company. There's turnstile-style entrances where I assume staff go into. There's this one chap who's dressed in pretty much all black. He's carrying what appears to be an AK-47 automatic rifle. And there are reports, Mark, I don't know if you've managed to confirm or deny these, that some hostages were taken. Have you heard any more on that?
Well, there's no indication of that. We don't have the live shot at all from Turkey that we were showing? No, so there's no indication of, thank you, no indication that anybody has been taken hostage at all at this stage. Certainly the government hasn't confirmed that. Of course, the information that you get with these unfolding, particularly marauding terrorist attacks, can be very confusing. And the first accounts that come out often are corrected within the hours of a situation unfolding. But we do know there have clearly been multiple casualties in what has been a significant terrorist attack involving multiple attackers using explosives and using weapons at this stage. And we're seeing people, the media and others gathered outside this facility. So in the outer perimeter, things are calm, but we've been seeing as dusk falls now in this area of northern Ankara that there are still emergency service vehicles arriving. We can still see the blue lights, in fact, just through the silhouettes of people there at that point. So still a very active scene from what we can see.
Yes, and I think President Erdogan is at the BRICS summit in Russia, no less, with Vladimir Putin. So he's not even in the country, the Turkish president. I wonder if he'll race back to deal with this crisis. But Mark, thank you for that. We will get more detail as the show progresses.
This is the Tusas Aerospace company based in Ankara, where, according to the Interior Minister, the area has been subject of a terrorist attack. We're looking at live pictures now of that facility. It's an aerospace company that makes engines for the Turkish military. We're told that a taxi arrived with a number of assailants inside. They opened fire with automatic weapons, and then there was the sound of an explosion as well. Turkish media reporting that this may well have been a suicide bomber. According to the Interior Minister, there are injuries and deaths as a result of what he is saying is a terrorist attack targeting this facility. We're still in the very early stages, as you see another ambulance heading towards, or a fleet of ambulances heading towards this aerospace company at the moment. We are working to get some other footage that we don't quite have yet, but that has the moment that the gunfire rang out at this facility, and there is the sound of an explosion as well. This has been played quite widely now on Turkish television. As I say, we're working to get that edited, and we'll play that to you as soon as we have it. But you can see, as I say, we still are very much in the early stages of this attack, because we still have emergency service vehicles, police and ambulance personnel arriving at the site here. As to who could be behind this deadly attack, well, we don't know at this stage. We know that, of course, the Turkish government have had significant issues in the past with the Kurdish militant group, the PKK, who have launched multiple attacks on Turkey over the years, and particularly they have targeted the likes of policing and military installations, but nothing to suggest any particular motive at the moment. We know that Turkey as well has grappled with an Islamist problem over the years, with particular attacks in Istanbul and Ankara and other locations around Turkey. So some real concern about who was behind this. Of course, how many people may have been caught up in this. It did happen, we believe, at one of the main entrances to this aerospace building, with the gunshots ringing out and then the explosions as well.
Yeah, we will endeavour to get those pictures to you shortly, viewers back home. There are pictures I'm looking at online now, if I can just describe them to you. It's one man in particular carrying, I can't really describe the gun, it looks a lot bigger than a traditional sort of AK-47 rifle, but he makes his way up to turnstile-style entrances at the facility. This aerospace company seems to be at the head office, it appears, of this building, and starts opening fire on workers. Unconfirmed reports that there is 9 dead, but that is unconfirmed. And just remind us, Mark, again of the militant group, the PKK.
The PKK, the Kurdish militant. So you've got a Kurdish minority in Turkey, in Iran, in Iraq, but in Turkey, their militant arm, the PKK, have been fighting the Turkish government for many years for more autonomy and independence of the Kurdish elements within Turkey itself. So we know that there have been many attacks over the years that have been launched by the PKK, but we don't know as yet. The Turkish government is not laying the finger of blame at the moment in any one direction, because just as much of a problem for the Turkish government over the years has been the Islamist threat from the likes of Al-Qaeda and ISIS that have targeted institutions, facilities and civilians in Turkey as well. So it could be a number of different directions that the investigation goes on. But what they are saying at the moment, the Turkish government confirming that their belief is this was a terrorist attack, multiple gunmen and an explosion. Anil Sahin, who's a well-connected defence industry researcher, has told a local news outlet that the attack was carried out by multiple assailants who arrived at the compound in a taxi. Footage from IHA, one of the Turkish broadcaster, shows a heavily damaged yellow cab which was reportedly involved in the initial explosion, as we see more ambulances and armoured personnel carriers arriving there as well, with either military or police personnel to the scene here. So several images carried by Turkish news outlets showed at least 2 attackers, one of them a woman, it says, advancing inside the compound and with long-barrelled rifles. And as you say, those reports that these gunmen, gunwoman, gunman were targeting employees at this Tusas Aerospace company as well.
Yeah, just looking at the history of terrorist attacks in Turkey, you've had Kurdish militants before, the Islamic State group, and even leftist extremists all carrying out attacks in Turkey in the past. I think President Erdogan is in Russia currently for a BRICS meeting. That's the banking meeting, I believe, with the likes of Putin and so on. So he's not in the country. What about the terror threat worldwide, Mark? Anything for Brits to be concerned about, very briefly?
Well, of course, here in this country is substantial. It's a medium point at the moment. It has been at some stages up to critical, was then lowered to severe, meaning an attack was highly likely. It's now been lowered to substantial. That's always under review, because there is an acknowledgement with the conflict in the Middle East in particular that there are potential threats. We had that terrorist attack in Hartlepool last year connected to the conflict in Gaza as well, in which that elderly gentleman was stabbed to death by a man who's now, of course, being convicted of that, an asylum seeker. So there is, of course, always a threat in this country. Incidentally, at one of our airports today, Birmingham Airport, there is a significant disruption that's been caused by an incident unfolding there with a vehicle that was suspicious in nature. All of the operations at Birmingham Airport have been cancelled, suspended, at least for the time being, and that's caused significant disruption. No indication that that is in any way connected to what is unfolding in Turkey, which is a confirmed terrorist attack, according to the Turkish authorities.
OK, Mark, we'll keep a keen eye over the Turkey situation and indeed the Birmingham Airport situation. As you said, not linked at all. It could just be, a loose, a random car that's causing trouble. But, stick with us on Martin Daubney on GB News.